All right, y'all. So Mandalorian season 1 is in the books, and I would hope that by now, at least most of you guys, hopefully all of you guys have seen it. We're going to be discussing some very light spoilers for that season because I want to discuss where I hope and think they will go for season 2 and what I want from season 2 of The Mandalorian. We did find out that season 2 of The Mandalorian is coming fall of 2020, so unfortunately, we're going to have to wait a while. It could be October, but most likely November until we get The Mandalorian Season 2. So, what do I want from Mandalorian Season 2? Well, first of all, the cliffhanger, if you can even call it that, it's really not a cliffhanger, but the ending of Mandalorian Season 1, or in the last episode, Mando finds out that he has to, he finds out more about the Jedi, that he has to try to find the home world of Baby Yoda, essentially where the Yoda race comes from. Even though there's also talk that he might have to go actually run into Jedi or try to find the Jedi Order themselves. Now, because this show takes place just a few years after Return of the Jedi, this would have been before the betrayal of Kylo Ren or whatever, when Kylo Ren left, Luke's academy, I guess you can say, and tore down that hut. And it would have been before, like, the First Order actually began to kind of reign the galaxy. So, and to cause problems. So we have to kind of see where they're going to go with that, because for season 2, there may be a time skip, and there may be a time skip that leads to possibly Mando running into Luke Skywalker, which I don't know if it's going to happen, but at some point I hope it does happen. It doesn't have to be season 2, but I feel like the idea of him giving Baby Yoda to Luke, and then Luke kind of giving it to another caretaker, Lor San Tekka or whatever, hopefully nothing will happen to the baby, could work. Or maybe Baby Yoda will stick around with Mando, because I feel like that group, or that twosome, I think could work, and it's pretty cool. Also, I want to also clarify something else as well about Mandalorian Season 2, the whole Luke Skywalker thing I was telling you all about. At this point, 5 or so years, I forget how many years after Return of the Jedi, Kylo Ren is a baby. So we're not going to get, Ben Solo ain't nothing yet. And Luke's probably still doing that whole thing where he's hunting for Jedi artifacts. And again, I do not remember the dates on any of this, so whether or not there's a time skip in Mando could determine, like, if we're going to see Luke. That's what I would like to see in the future. Doesn't mean we will, but also what could happen is we might have Mando training the baby. Obviously the baby, adorable baby, knows the Force, but maybe Mando can kind of train the baby little by little on how to protect itself, and maybe the baby can learn to use the Force even more efficiently, because I feel like the baby's Force power is definitely a prodigy, and I feel like this character, Baby Yoda, is so popular that getting rid of him would be a big mistake. I do think we're going to see Cara Dune return. I think we're going to see something like that. I'm also suspecting way more droids, too. I think Mando and his whole sort of character arc, where he kind of became more open to droids thanks to IG-11 and what he did at the end of Mandalorian, I think we're going to get more bad droids, more evil droids, and Mando will have to fight them off. Plus, the story is not over yet at all, because the final episode ended with Moff Gideon still being alive. He has a Darksaber, and the plot of season 2 could actually be Mando trying to get that Darksaber, which is a very important object, a very important artifact and weapon for the Mandalorian people. It symbolizes the Mandalorian people, and that could also end up being a story arc as well. I hope we eventually do get the one-on-one fight between Mandalorian and Gideon, as far as not with ships, like man-to-man, face-to-face, one-on-one. I'm expecting that, but I feel like Gideon will go back to the Imperial Remnant and get more of the remaining stormtroopers and try to go after Mando. Now, will we see Exegol and things like that in season 2? I don't think so. I do expect at some point we're going to see some planets from the original trilogy, or maybe even from the prequel trilogy. I think they're going to throw in maybe Naboo, maybe Hoth. Hoth is, I believe, close to the outer regions. I don't really remember, so that could be a good place. Tatooine definitely is too, but we've already seen Tatooine, so I don't see Mando going back there, although it is possible he will. I hope they keep the format the same and just tell good stories. That's really what I'm hoping for season 2, and I hope that Baby Yoda ends up growing and learning more about the Jedi, not necessarily growing to adult size, if you want to call it that, whatever, but growing in power and learning things, and that relationship between Mando and him gets, stronger. I do think we're going to see Grief Karga come back. That is Carl Weathers' character. I think he was a lot of fun for season 1. I think he was a good character to have around, and I think we're going to see a lot more of that. And I definitely want to see some more of that grimy Star Wars underworld stuff. We saw a little bit of it in Solo. That was some of the stuff that I enjoyed, seeing kind of the aesthetics of the Star Wars underworld and underbelly, and I hope we get more of that kind of stuff in Mandalorian. I would keep the Jedi out of it for the majority of the show. You can do stuff, like I said, with Luke and Baby Yoda, but I would definitely keep the Jedi out of it, and keep the whole Jedi story separate for now. I don't really think it's important, but I would like to see at some point them discuss the early days of the New Republic and kind of what was going on with that, which was covered in some of those Aftermath books, but those books were really not very good, especially the first one. The sequel books I think were a little bit better, but not everybody's read them, so I think if they tell us some of the early stuff going on with the New Republic and give us more information on that, that would be fantastic too. But really, that's not what this is about. The Mandalorian's about Mando's story, and I would love it if he, maybe found out more about his heritage. If we find out more about his past, see some flashbacks of him training and him becoming who he is, maybe some shots of him actually on planet Mandalore. There's a lot of things they could do, and I'm excited for season 2 of The Mandalorian. Leave a comment, let me know what you want from season 2 of The Mandalorian, coming out way later this year. Until then, we're kind of stuck with no Star Wars, and that's not really a bad thing, because movie Star Wars is not that great, but TV Star Wars is great. I would like more TV. I don't care too much about that, that Cassian Andor series, but the Kenobi series by Deborah Chow, now that could be good, and it probably will be. So let me know what you think about Mandalorian Season 2 in the comments, and we'll talk very soon.